see if anybody else wants to do it. We had probably 36 cities step up in Canada. And we probably have, out of those 36, we probably have maybe about 14 serious that want to do it. Awesome. So we're getting there. We're getting there.
That's very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if everybody wants to take a quick moment we'll do a round of introductions. Myself and Kimberly and Tracy already started, but it'd be great to just do a quick round. Many of us know each other, either through other international work or from last year's organizing, but it would be great to just make sure everybody's on the same page. And then we have quite a few things that we want to walk you through that are different or unique to this year that we want to make sure we cover as just a kind of foundational components, and then we'll leave the last 10 or 15 minutes to questions, brainstorming, ideas about how we want to move forward with some of the kind of more important things, especially with COVID happening. But first, let's just all introduce ourselves. I'm Stacy Rutland, founder of Income Movement here in the United States, and one of the lead organizers and kind of facilitators of last year's Basic Income March. And I'll hand it over to whoever else wants to go first. You guys can just jump in.
I'll introduce myself. I'm Tracy. I'm from Toronto. I am the lead coordinator and getting everybody set up in Canada. But we're the project manager for Toronto.
Alexander, you want to go next?
Yes, I'm Alexander de Roux. I'm the chair of the Dutch organization. We participated last year. We had about 200 people. We started up this preparation for this year, and just yesterday I got confirmed that the leader of the student movement will speak, and probably one well-known actress as well. We have positive developments on the political area. The left-wing liberals, a bit like your D60, like your Trudeau in Canada, they are now in favor of a negative income tax, so that's positive. So we are hopeful, and we hope that we have a big turnout, and it's necessary because basically it's the start of our electoral campaign. We have national elections March next year. Thank you.
If I may add, we had 80 people in Toronto last year. This year is different with COVID because we are actually getting a partial UBI. And what I mean by partial UBI is we're getting, everybody who works gets a stimulus check of $2,000 a month. They are in the middle of seeing if they're going to claw back that 50%, but it still leaves the most vulnerable, seniors, married, single people out of the works that are not working or anything. So 1.5 million people in Canada, if this goes through, are slipping through the cracks. So we got a partial UBI due to the COVID.
Thanks, Tracy. Who wants to go next?
I can.
Okay.
May I?
Yes, absolutely.
May I? Stacy? Okay. This is Ali Mutlu from Istanbul, Turkey. We have a platform and a legal entity in Turkey, Citizens Basic Income, Research, Development, Culture and Dissemination Society. I'm a member of BN and UBIE. Last year we tried to participate to the march. We were not that crowded, around 40, 45 maximum. But interesting thing is that at that time media didn't give any attention to us. But 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, they used some photographs from that small gathering in a square in Istanbul. Hopefully, we will try to participate this year too, but it will be quite difficult. I don't know. Thank you. One more thing. Since April 7, we are holding. It was weekly for 3 months, and then now it's bi-weekly. Worldwide meetings of UBI advocates and UBI networks. And to tell truth, for my site especially, I am learning a lot, and people are sharing a lot of things, and it's very interesting.
Is there any way you can send that to me so I can join? I'll give you my email.
Sure, it's a possibility. Also, I can put into the chat box the link of the coming one. It will be
Okay.
next Tuesday, second and
Okay.
fourth Tuesdays of each month at the moment.
Okay. Thanks.
I'm putting my email too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Stacey, I can go next if you want. So, hi everybody. I'm Diane. I'm from New York City. One of the co-founders of the Basic Income March with the other co-founder is James Felton Keith. You guys probably have heard of him. He ran for Congress here recently. I'm the facilitator of a group called Basic Income NYC. And although we haven't met recently because of COVID, you know, that's something that we were doing here on a monthly basis, a socializing group for people interested in basic income. And, you know, very excited about how it went. Thanks to a lot of people, including Stacy. The New York March was really memorable. We had about 750 people. And, you know, and all the credit goes to, I think, to Stacy and Dylan and Wright, who were able to really, you know, the local New York City March and provide tools to replicate it. And, you know, and as a result, we had an unimaginable, you know, international event. And so now here we are, and it's we're about to, you know, it's going to look a little different, I think, because of COVID and things. And I think we're going to be sort of learning a little bit about how to do an event under these in this particular strange situation of a pandemic. But, you know, we've got a lot of people. We've got, it's incredible, you know, between the international and the national and the academics and everything. I think we're going to have something really special. So anyway, happy to be here.
May I make a very short second Tuesday? I'm sorry, I confused. I put it into the chat.
That's okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any last people want to do their introductions?
I'll go. My name is Liz. I'm another volunteer with Income Movement here to help cities with setting up their marches. So it's really nice to see such a geographic representation here, and I look forward to working with all of you. So thank you.
Yes.
Emily?
I can introduce myself a little bit more. My name is Emily, and I'm out of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan in Canada. I'm kind of new to the movement, but I'm really excited to plan the march in Saskatoon and get as many people involved as I possibly can. So I'm hoping to learn a lot from all of you.
Thanks, Emily.
Let's see if anybody here. No. I was expecting 4 others, but they never showed up. But that's okay.
So, We have one last. Bien, Norway.
Yes. Hello, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, good. Yeah. My name is Anja Askeland, and I've been into the movement since 2012. And I was part of, founding Be in Norway, and I've been part of UBIE, and I'm also a member of BN. Lately now, I've been involved with building a more local group of supporters of basic income, and we are cooperating with artists for the time being. I just had this meeting with this other group in another part of the country, and I really hope to get them. They are very positive and interested to be part of this global march, but we will do it more artistically. We'll use more creative expressions of it. Yeah. So yeah, and I have very little battery on my cell phone, so maybe I suddenly just disappear. So because of the battery, yeah.
Okay.
It's always an adventure on a Zoom call.
Well,
What?
I said it's always an adventure on Zoom calls. You never know when you're going to get knocked off.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's so many difficulties. My laptop, I have my laptop here, but it does not work on Zoom somehow. So now I'm the battery problem. So I don't know.
well, I am recording this, so I'll go ahead and I'll post it up to if you do drop off. And actually, a few people, different people from the international community, said they weren't able to attend today, but wanted to be able to see what happened in the meeting. So I'll post onto YouTube and share a link with the international listserv so that you guys can share that amongst your communities, and also share it with all the participants today as well. So so we'll make sure that you guys are able to, anybody that you already have had conversations with who are interested in doing something but weren't able to attend today, we'll be able to get them the video.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so a few things that I want to go through first are some of the kind of logistics and basic components. So obviously, you know, for those of you who were able to do events last year, you probably remember that most of the process last year was very manual as far as tracking, communicating across different communities. And so ultimately, when a new person or a new city wanted to be involved in the march, they would email us and say, hey, we want to plan something. And then we would start to coordinate and work one-on-one individually with each person, give them all the tools that they could possibly need to help. And then we had a weekly meeting where we would come together and kind of answer questions. On the back end, what we would do, what Income Movement would do, would be to basically update the website as regularly as we could with the cities that were participating and provide links to Facebook events or Mobilize events. People were using all kinds of different tools in their own regions and cities to promote their events. And so this year we are we're using something a little bit different with the primary goal of really helping with communication and helping track all of the things. So so I'm gonna share my screen real quick and show you guys a few of these components. And, oh, my doggy just tried to jump on the table and didn't make it. So let me share my screen and we can, and I can kind of walk you through some of these items. And these are things that are going to make it really easy for everybody on this call to participate, but also for you to be able to really easily share with other people in your countries or your communities ways to get involved with a very kind of straightforward, communication path. So I'm going to go to the March here. All right, so when you get to the homepage of the March, it probably looks familiar my internet's super slow because I'm sharing everything. So hold on, we're not actually technically on the home page yet. When you land on the home page, it looks pretty similar to last year's in the sense that there's a countdown, the date, September 19th. The target time for events to start is 2 p.m., whatever in your own regional areas. But that's, you know, up to you guys to decide what makes the most sense based on whatever it is that's happening in your communities. But sometime on the 19th, and there's a little bit of information about what this is all about, and a place for people to find events near them, and a little bit of a highlight of what's happening in the US as far as flagship cities. We're happy to add additional international flagship cities. So if you guys, like in Canada, if Toronto becomes a flagship city, which means large numbers of people, maybe coordinating speakers, getting press, you know, something that becomes, that might need additional larger support mechanisms from either income movement or a deeper organizing team in the city, just let us know, and we're happy to kind of continue to add these. You know, Amsterdam and Berlin last year were pretty big cities in Europe. And Toronto, you know, obviously in Canada seemed to be kind of the nexus. But we're happy to kind of grow this as we move forward. And that's something that we can just discuss in our conversations here in these meetings to understand where things are at with each of the different participant cities. But the thing that I want to really make sure is we spend a little bit of time on is when you click on this button, attend an event, or as well as when you're down here and it says find an event near you, this takes you to a new tool that we're using this year. And we're really encouraging that everybody who is hosting an event, that you use this tool. You can use, if in your country Facebook events or some other tool is something that you also want to be using, absolutely, you know, augment with whatever tools that you'd like to. But if you're going to have an event in your city, we would really, really like for you to get that up on this map. What we found last year is the fastest and easiest way and the most consistent way for all of our promotions to work effectively is to have a single location that everything is concentrated in. And so the process for setting up your city as a host here is pretty straightforward. It supports international events. And you can see here right now the events that are in the system are all United States, but similar to how last year we were manually updating a map and just reloading every time we would get a few more cities, you know, like every 3 or 4 days we would try to update things and then just get a picture up on the website and get links to everybody's individual stuff. This system, Action Network, does it all automatically. So you guys get to set up the event. The moment you set it up, the pin drops onto the map. So there's no lag time, there's no bottleneck of income movement trying to make sure that we're moving things along quickly enough. The other great piece of this is you can see that people can search by their city code or their city name or whatever it is that they want to enter in there. That's kind of a standard search mechanism, and then it will highlight the specific events that are closest to them. It's also this map is interactive, so you can click on the pins, and then if it's something you want to see more on, you can actually click on the event itself, and then all of the information about this event can be found here. The location, start dates, it drops a pin on the map of where that location is, and then hosts can go ahead and update any content they want to have on their event page. And so this is, and then people who want to attend the event can enter their information and say how many people they're going to bring, and then they can RSVP to it. The great piece about this, the additional really important piece of this, is that all of this information on the people who are going to be attending your events, you have access to. So that means that when you set up an event and you have 50 people RSVP through this, you can actually send emails directly to all of those people. If a location has to change, if you need more volunteer support day of because you don't have a large enough team, you can do all those kinds of reaches along the way. And Facebook events and some of the other tools really just don't allow you to do that. You can post, you can say, and say like, is there anybody that's willing to help? But you can't do the direct into their inbox kind of communication. And one of the things that we found that was really powerful and important last year for our flagship cities like New York City and San Francisco was that we were able to send links to signs that people could print at their homes before they came to the events. We could send links to all kinds of different important information to make sure that they had the latest and greatest. And then people can respond to you if you need to have some back and forth communication with your participants as well. So this is a really invaluable tool for organizing, and we think that it'll help both increase overall attendance because everyone across the globe can promote basicincome.march.com. Anywhere and everywhere, and when people come to this link, they're going to immediately be able to find an event near them. So even if somebody in New York is promoting this on their social media and they happen to have friends in Amsterdam, people in Amsterdam are going to see that and they're going to be able to find the event that's happening without it having to come directly out of Amsterdam. So we encourage you guys to set this up. I will say one of the first steps that you'll need to go through in order to get your event on here is to create an account in Action Network. This is a unique account to you. It's like creating a Facebook account or whatever it is. It's your own unique account within the tool. It doesn't mean that you're signing up to be part of Income Movement or anything like that. It's just your own piece. This is a tool that a lot of progressive organizations in the US use for organizing. And so I have an account and I actually have relationships with under my own personal name, and I have relationships with a lot of different organizations and events that I've supported over the years. So you'll set up that account and then you're going to just come to this page, this view, which just jumps off of the Basic Income March website, and you click the button that you want to host. And there's a whole bunch of kind of information here that pops up that's kind of a step through of how to. So there's a little information guide, important things to remember and understand, and things that you need to do to make sure that that your event links with our event. So read through that, just make sure that you're kind of familiar with it and aware of it. And then once you can say okay, and then you just move into the process of filling out a form. And this form, it's pretty straightforward. Name your event. We're asking people to name their events, their city, and then Basic Income March. So like New York City Basic Income March or Amsterdam Basic Income March, just to make it really kind of consistent and easy for people to track and manage. Start date and time, start location. So if you are marching, what you want to put in there is the place that you're starting so everybody knows where to gather. And then if you want to include your contact information there, so people who sign up for your event, they can reach out to you, absolutely do that. And here's where you would update all of the information that is relevant and important for your specific event. So we're going to, in a moment, spend a little bit of time talking about the types of events people might be hosting this year with COVID. So you might end up wanting to put some very unique and specific information in here. If you're doing more of an artist type of event like Norway, you might want to include some things in here. This might be where you want to include links to a route map if you have a route that you guys are marching in, or what have you. And these are things that once you set up your event, you can come in and edit it and update it anytime. So when new information comes forward, you can just go in and hit edit and then add more things. So it's really easy to use and really helpful in that sense. And then the most important thing, down at the bottom here, you have your name will be here. And then you're going to need to say that you want this to be sponsored by Income Movement. And that's the way that your event gets linked to the Income Movement Basic Income March. And that's really the most important thing. Otherwise, your event will just be kind of dangling out there in the world somewhere. It won't know where to connect to. So there won't be a pin on the map for your event. If you have any issues as you're going through this process, definitely reach out to myself. Myself, Kimberly, Liz, and Diane are all at Income Movement are all here to help. I'll do a follow-up email when I include the link to this meeting, the video for this meeting, the recording. I'll also just include our contact information. We were all on the email that we sent out for this, as well as the meeting invite, but we'll just put it in the body of the email so it's explicit. But we're definitely here to help and make sure that this is kind of easy and straightforward for you guys. And then as soon as you have that, once you have an event, it's very, very easy to just share this link, this map view link, with anybody and everybody. And then, in social media, on any emails that you want to send out to your communities, just include this link and they're going to land right on this map page and immediately be able to plug in and either host or RSVP for your event.
Can I ask a question for myself that might help other people? So
Yeah.
like, let's say hypothetically, this is going to be an international map, right? So even though it says zip code, you could just put in Amsterdam and the map will it generate and show you?
That's right. Yeah.
Europe?
Yeah, it says zip, postal code, or, and then you can't see what it says, but it says city or region. And so you can just type in any city name and it'll pop up.
Okay. And then the other question is concerning Twitter handles for marches. So, cities who have already had a march, they probably have a Twitter handle that they use for their march, right? Does it matter? Do we need to have like some kind of a consistency with the Twitter handles that are created, or it doesn't really make any difference? Because I'm thinking that the Twitter handles could be created in this system too, like when you're doing your profile for your march. Is there, I don't know, it's just a question.
I think that starts to get into a little bit of too much micromanaging in where it's energy going into, I think if people should do what they want to do with their Twitter handles. We'll have specific hashtags that we'll be promoting at different times leading up to, as well as on the day of the event, so that people can track and see videos and photos that populate kind of across the 24-hour cycle of September 19th. So, but I think that from our experience with grassroots, the areas where there doesn't need to be coordination, where people have an opportunity to just personalize and customize and do their own thing, it's important to let that happen, or else it can just start making people feel like they don't have autonomy and the ability to kind of make those decisions. So certainly if people want to know if there's create a consistent protocol for Twitter handles and stuff like that for the march, happy to have that conversation. But I think, I don't know that we need to necessarily promote it or require it.
Makes sense.
Okay, so this is, any other questions about Action Network, this kind of tool that's going to bring everything together?
May I?
Yeah.
It's a very interesting tool and really very practical. It looks very practical. First thing is, will you be sharing this recording with us? The recordings of this meeting, so that we can maybe go over it once again. Secondly, my understanding is that one can register to that web page, and then if someone is registered, he can be a host of an event. And if that event is connected to the basic income match, it is of this year. Am I correct?
You cut out for a minute there on my computer, so I didn't quite catch. If you were registered last year, are you saying if people were registered last year, are they registered this year?
No. We have to register to the web page first, personally, to be a host.
That's right.
Then, as a host or as a potential host, we can host an event.
Yes.
And that event should be connected to the Basic Income March. So it will be connected to this web page and to the global event, let's say.
That's right.
But do you think it might be open to jokes? I mean, many people may join somewhere and very quickly say that they are hosting some event, and you can see maybe too many events in one city suddenly, but nobody's there. I mean,
well, we'll be able to know pretty quickly. I guess there's two things. One, Income Movement's able to monitor any by linking the event to Income Movement. We then basically have access to all of the information. We can track and see. We know who the host is because they have to give an email address. We know the people who have signed up, and we can communicate with all of them. So there's still mechanisms, and we can pull events off if they don't seem like they're legit. So there's certainly oversight and moderation that will happen and can happen. But this is a question that comes up a lot with grassroots organizing, and to be honest, it's very, very rare that we see situations where people misuse or abuse these kinds of things. Sometimes, even sometimes when people, let's say a host maybe isn't in it for the right reasons, or it isn't really kind of promoting the ideas of basic income in the way that their community wants them to, and a bunch of people sign up for it. Usually the people keep the host accountable. I mean, you start to have it's the beauty of grassroots in that that when you provide opportunities and people come together, generally the social contract around the ideas is a heavy part of what happens in the event itself. And so we actually haven't, we've hosted now multiple events like this where we just let people sign up, and we have yet to have any negative experiences with that where people misused or abused.
May I say a few words?
Yeah.
You see, it may be a joke, but why I ask this question is that, you see, because of the pandemic, it might be difficult to invite people to a place and come together. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the governmental limitations, maybe they will not allow people to make such things in the streets, come together. Such limitations are on the table at the moment, and maybe they will be still applicable in September too. We thought, instead of having a march all together, why not ask people to have a kind of small small board with a UBI logo or something like this, mm-hmm. and go somewhere and walk and have a photo of it. So we might receive maybe 100 different photos from 100 different benchmark locations. Mm-hmm. And then instead of inviting these 100 people to the same location, we say they don't come together, but stay in your place and send the photo, and then we can merge the photos next to each other, and then we can share it. Because if they come together, first of all, they have to use the public transportation. Secondly, maybe the government will not allow such street movements. And thirdly, maybe older people or people who are afraid of the pandemic will not join. So, I mean, because internally we discussed with my friends, what can we do in the streets? How we can be visible? I mean, it's quite difficult to be a very crowded mass, although we were only 45 last year.
Yeah. Well, no, you're bringing up a great point, and this is the second part of what we wanted to make sure we covered today is like, what kind of events are we talking about? What kind of opportunities are we talking about? And how can we provide as many of the greatest kind of variety of events, of types of events or types of actions to make it so that we're accommodating the limitations of COVID that social distancing are requiring. So let's talk a little bit more about this. I think that what you're talking about is absolutely true. So there's two pieces that we think is really important. In general, so Income Movement has a series of actions that we anticipate, solely digital actions that we anticipate we will be rolling out in September leading up to the march. And exactly what you're talking about is one of them, giving people an opportunity to write on a piece of paper or to make a sign and then make a video or take a photo that says, that UBI would help me, or this is why I think we need UBI, or some personal story about themselves or a family member or their community about the benefit or the power of UBI, for sure. And so giving those opportunities for the digital experience is very important. From our perspective, the Basic Income March specifically, and is about public social protest. And so that becomes something very specific. It doesn't mean that digital protest and social media campaigns and all of that kind of stuff isn't important, and we will certainly be doing that leading up to it, and even the day of. I think people who can't do something out in public, we want to make sure that they can participate, and so on that day, we think it's a really great opportunity for people in the kind of safety of their homes to tell their stories, to be able to do a few different tasks that gets their participation out into the public sphere. But we also think it's really important right now that we think about how can we get creative about physically showing up and being present in public spaces. So there's a few different things that we've started to outline that are ways to be supporting social distancing, to be safe, but also be public. And so let's talk about a few of those. What's here is by no means exhaustive. These are just some of the core ones that right now we at Income Movement can anticipate ways to support these. So we can help create and print signs. We can help with promoting. We can make sure that what's landing on the map, anything that you need to help with the organizing of these, that we can give you tools for your checklists for how to make sure these happen. Just some of those kinds of things. We feel confident we can support what's here on this website right now, but we also anticipate people might do very different things. And it's really going to be specific to each community. But if you go to the Get Involved page of the website, you can see that that we have different types of events that people could potentially host, and outline those. Obviously, a Basic Income March or rally is one. We anticipate in the United States that this is not going to be possible for most of our cities because of what's happening, certainly with what's happening with COVID right now and the craziness, the spikes that are happening. So, but it's here because there may be some countries or some cities where this is feasible. The second idea is a car or bike parade. This is starting to tap into the ability to have greater social distancing, but also still be having the equivalent of a march or a parade, people or vehicles in the streets. So this is an option for people who maybe have, like Amsterdam or Portland, Oregon, that have big bike communities. New York City right now is, as part of the Black Lives Matter uprising that we have here, there's pretty significant bike parades that are happening as well, specifically to help with the social distancing that we need to be enforcing right now. And we anticipate ways, we're thinking about ways that we can help make sure that signage, flags, the variety of different things that would make the promotion of UBI for cars or bikes that are moving pretty quickly through a community, ways for us to be able to support visually telling the story of UBI in those circumstances. There's also an opportunity for something that's a little bit different. It's almost like a march inverted. We're calling these street corner protests. So this is where a host could designate a certain a certain kind of area in the city, and say we want people on each of the four corners of every intersection. So nobody's getting all together, marching, but it's an opportunity for cars that are driving by, public transportation that's going by, and people that are walking by to see signs. And this is where one or two people who are, family members or that are already exposing each other to each other, would be at each of the four corners. It's an opportunity for similar to the goal of a march, which is a long procession opportunity for observers to be able to read all the different signs and see, part of it. This is almost kind of the opposite. Cars going by at each intersection are reading signs that are on the sides of the road. And if you do it in a very kind of strategic way, you could potentially have, a square mile of a city have people on each of the corners. And that's an opportunity for that many more people who are just out in the world on that day to engage with the idea. It also can take, when you have a smaller number of people, like 40 or 50 people, you can actually cover a lot of distance with those number of people, and be pretty effective. You can also create signs that can be stationary signs that can be next to people who are holding signs. So you actually have opportunities for adding more information or more signage that aren't reliant on a single person being able to hold it. So that's one opportunity, one option as well. We also recognize that something similar to, like what you were talking about, Ali, about how can you kind of pull together stories and ideas. We think that the idea of crowdsourced art installations, or kind of grouping things all in this way, could be incredibly powerful. And this could look like a lot of different things. In some cities in the United States, and I think in some cities in Europe, I've seen photos of this. We have these things called wishing trees. That's like a tree, and it has a little information at the bottom of the tree. And then hanging from the tree are little like tags, slips of paper that are created by individuals. So we could have what we call like an income tree, a basic income tree, a little bit of signage at the bottom, and then slips of paper for people to write down their story of why they think basic income is important. And then they hang it from a branch, one of the low kind of branches of the tree. And then people, when they walk by, they can read some signage about basic income, and then they can actually read in all the individual stories. Each one of those tags represents somebody in their community who has said that they believe in basic income, and that and can talk about why it's important to them. That's something. Many of these things could actually be something that all during Basic Income Week. It could kick off at the beginning of the week, and people just walking by can add to it. It doesn't require a big crowd of people to do it all at once. It's something that's just organically growing over time. It's also something that gets to be left behind. So it could exist for a month after the fact, where people get to look at it and get to kind of engage with it. And it's still a public demonstration of people in the community supporting it, but it's not requiring a crowd to be walking down a street. Similarly, if we think about experience walls or things, some of what you were talking about, if we can, if there's locations in a city, whether it's like a business who's willing to kind of give the wall, part of a wall of the front of their business, or what have you, there could be, the ability to be able to bring a lot of these stories together and put them up on a UBI wall, like you're saying, printing off people's stories and pasting them up for them. And that can be something that's left behind. murals. You know, there can be, in Los Angeles, there's a really big street art scene. And so something that artists and community members could decide to do is to do a series of street art murals around UBI. They could drop a pin on our map and then have a little link to a hand-drawn map of all the different locations where these murals are at. So it could almost be like a walking experience of UBI, where within this, you know, within 20 square blocks, there's these really cool murals peppered everywhere. So I think that there's ways for us to get very creative, where it may be that the day of the 19th, we're taking pictures of all of these crowdsourced installations and posting them, or taking videos of it and like kind of promoting what's been happening in your city related to this, but it doesn't have to necessarily take the form of a march, to be able to still have that public display of support for basic income. Because we want to make sure that each year that we do this march, we want to show and demonstrate publicly the growth, so that people in the community understand that there's a lot of support amongst them, amongst their community members for it. We want to make sure leadership knows that there's a lot of support for this, and we want to make sure the media knows that this is growing each year, and that it's something that they need to start taking seriously and cover. So so that's kind of our philosophy around what the 19th specifically is about, and why we want to make sure that we don't lose the public piece of this because of social distancing, that we could still get very creative and have public displays of support for basic income without compromising the health, I think, of people. Thoughts or questions?
I was just gonna say that I wonder if it would make sense to have some kind of information put into this part of the website for the crowdsourced art installations. Maybe there's a way to maybe there's a way to like take the particular information
You're cutting out, Diane. We can't hear you. If I'm
related to doing art installations and package it. All right.
I think I understand what you're saying, Diane. Is there a way for us to maybe have a one-pager or some more detailed information that can link off of this, so that people can understand the idea behind it, kind of the strategy behind it, and also for us to go a little bit deeper into what these things are, so that they can understand if it makes sense to host something in their city. And obviously, these are the kinds of things, for sure. I think that that's right. I think that this in particular, the art installation piece, is the most, maybe the most kind of new, or of the ideas here of like, what does this mean, and how would this actually get organized, and how would it function within a community. So I think that we can absolutely do that, and we can just add a link here so that we have like a Google Doc that just starts to really go into detail around each of these items, and we can put more examples in. We have examples of most of these different types of activities, so people can look at them and get inspired by those. And we may even, it may be that we want to have a couple of meetings specifically and exclusively for people who are doing these kinds of activities, just so that we can compare best practices and resources and those kinds of things for people that are going down this path, because there may be many additional things to, considerations and requirements, because you're doing something more permanent. And so I think that could make sense as well. Other thoughts?
I have a few questions. The first one is, last year, if I'm not mistaken, you received the photos from the events from different countries.
Yes.
Are you planning to prepare a kind of movie regarding what happened in last year, so that it might be something we can use during requesting people to come? Last year it was like this, so we want to expand it, we want to make it bigger. I don't know whether you use them or not, because I didn't see any material which is using the photos taken during last year. It might be interesting. And the second thing is regarding the partners. There's also in your webpage there's a place saying that to apply to be a partner. What's a partnership? I mean, what does it mean?
Right now, partnership means organizations who are helping cover costs or helping significantly promote events. So it's kind of one or the other. Either they're covering printing costs and helping make sure that volunteers aren't having to kind of pay out of pocket who are choosing to host the events, or they're organizations that have really large membership lists or a large reach across, in a variety of different ways, and they want to partner with us to do significant promotions and be part of our kind of social media and marketing campaigns that we have, that we're designing. And I think that the previous point that you brought up, there is on here some photos of past marches that that's just a quick hit for people to see, with Korea and a few different Australia and different. We have Ghana and others.
Oh yeah.
And Germany, yeah. So this is here as a reference point, but some of what I think you're getting at is promotion, like promotional and social media assets that can help drum up the excitement, remind people of last year, and get them kind of excited about this year. And that's certainly right now under the Get Involved. In the next week or so, we're going to be adding a whole nother section. We have this print materials section right now. This will grow. Most of this is last year's print materials. We're doing a whole new series for 2020. We'll add those on here. And then we're going to have a whole section after print materials, as soon as we have a nice variety for people, that are social media promotion assets. And so those are going to have an image and the date and the URL and some kind of tagline or something that you can use to send to your communities via email or via Facebook or Twitter or whatever it is that you're using. You can post things on websites that you may have relationships with, or share them with your organizations. So that's coming. I think in the next 7 to 10 days we'll be able to have enough materials there that it makes sense to have a solid piece. And you can see that when you go here, like for the print materials, there's a link to go to our Google Drive to be able to download all of the print materials. We'll have the same thing for the social media materials. So everything's organized in here for everyone to be able to, the front of March banners, join the movement graphics, placards, kind of smaller placards that people can hand hold, larger format prints. We're doing, last year we did international sizing as well as US sizing. So we want to make sure there's enough standard stuff that people can print things off at their home or print things very cheaply at a printer, rather than have all of these kind of weird sized things that start to get really expensive when it comes time to print them off. So we'll continue to do these, to make very public these kinds of resources, so you guys can just pull from and get inspired by and do, you know, whatever, use whatever makes sense to you guys. We'll also be, Income Movement will be pulling together a very detailed marketing plan, a kind of social media marketing plan with links to assets as well. So that'll be coming out. Last year we provided that to participants, as well as kind of a project planning document to just help with tasks and stuff if you're doing something that's a larger, more extensive event. So those are definitely things that we want to make sure that we can provide for you guys, so that you're not having to worry about employing designers and, you know, and getting people to produce kind of cool graphics that you can then share out. Yeah, Kimberly?
Hi, I just wanted to say that I thought that was a really great idea to do like a marketing thing with images from last year. And maybe we can thoughtfully work in at one point, like talking about the COVID aspect and being aware of that and saying, hey, we have ideas for this part. We're aware that everyone's community is going to need to make different choices, and we have assets or ideas and plans to accommodate some of those things and resources for that. Maybe that's a wise thing to include at one point, a thought there. And then I also wanted to mention a couple of things that some of the ideas that we had in our national call yesterday or the day before, whatever it was, the meetings run together. But I have on my list, and this is, I think, pertinent to some of the art stuff that we've been talking about and some of the things I've seen in the chat, which is to do virtual events where we can provide like training or community building with the UBI community for making signs or doing art installations. They did something similar here in the US with the Poor People's Campaign most recently, leading up to the June 20th event. They also did, which Stacy has talked about, quite a large virtual event that we've talked about incorporating as well, which would maybe provide some real drumming up for the day before event type of thing.
Awesome. Thanks, Kimberly. So,
may I ask a question?
Yes.
Is it possible to receive the photos taken during last year, so that maybe we can prepare something in Turkish too? We can say that, okay, in these big cities or in this many number of cities, I guess it was 12 countries, 23 cities, I'm not sure, but it was a big number.
Yeah.
Then we can maybe prepare something and say, okay, we are not alone. Okay, in the other cities, there are also people marching. That's one thing. Second thing is, maybe in addition to the partners, you can also say you can also introduce a kind of category supporters. Maybe Stacy, you know, we send a letter to the United Nations Secretary General.
Yeah.
There were about 96 organizations who signed that letter.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the list of them, and they are from different countries.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can work on it. We have the list, and most probably they have web pages or Facebooks. So to tell the truth, do we have time? May I use 5 more minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I have a hard stop, so we can do maybe 3 or 4 more minutes, but I have another meeting. Yeah.
Okay. What maybe we should do something else. In your message, you said that we will have weekly meetings. Am I correct?
That's right.
Maybe we better decide that weekly meeting, and then if we have time in 2 minutes, I can really briefly say what's in my mind.
Sure. Yeah.
So when should we meet weekly?
We can do that via email, just so that, because I think that there were several people who said they had to work during this time, and so they're not even available in this meeting to help determine what would work for them. So I can send something out where we can all just identify a good time.
Okay, so you will fix it. You will fix the date and time, and it will be same date and same day and same time every week. Okay.
That's right.
So you will send the email, then we will respond to it.
That's right.
Okay. Can I use my 2 minutes?
Yes.
Okay. I'm also a member of the UBIE. It's Universal Basic Income Europe. And
Yeah.
under the umbrella of UBIE, we developed a campaign. It took about more than 2 years. It is ECI campaign. You know the details, I guess, Stacey.
Yes.
Were in one of the meetings. Okay. This campaign will start on 25th of September. And it will be in 27 countries. And within these 27 countries, 24 different official languages are valid. So it will be a very interesting campaign. It will be targeting to more than 500 million people, 7% of the world population. And we are not a member of the European Union, but we are members of the Universal Basic Income Europe. So this project is a child of that group, and we plan to support it in a worldwide manner, worldwide contributions, let's say. Because any discussion to be held in Spain or Portugal will be something good for South America, or any discussion in English will be good for India. I mean, these 24 different official languages plus 60 non-official languages. I mean, it will be a very interesting campaign. It will take 1 year, and this 19th of September is in fact the Basic Income Week. It is the start of the Basic Income Week, 19th of September, and 25th of September is the end of the Basic Income Week, and it is starting from that day. The signature collection is starting. They have to collect 1 million signatures in a year. If they can do it, then they will. They have a proposal which was accepted. I mean, the text was accepted. If they are successful to do this, then it will be in the agenda of the European Parliament. So it's a kind of democratic mechanism that's possible in that area. My point is, you know, we have these worldwide meetings too. Yes. And this ECI is also an international campaign, but it should not be launched as a European Union signature collection campaign. It should be a more global something. Right. And this Basic Income March is also interesting. So during the next meeting, if you can allow me, I would like to make a slide presentation. It will not be a very long one, but maybe you can introduce some synergy on it. And the second one was regarding the 96 networks. I don't know how to be a partner. You said that there are some financial issues that they should contribute. I don't know the magnitude of it. Maybe some of them may even consider to be a partner, but even if they are not partners, a second category can be introduced, like supporters. Then we can request them, would you like to be supporting this Basic Income March? Okay, you organize your event in your country. In the meantime, your logo and your name will be in the web page of the Basic Income March. So it will be much more easy to disseminate the march to the globe.
Yeah.
If you do allow me, next meeting, I will try to prepare a short presentation.
Yeah, if you can send me a little bit more about it, and then, because what I'd like to do is actually think a little bit about what a way to incorporate that, or a way for us to think about how the Basic Income March could tie in with that in certain ways, so that we're not just coming like, here's this thing, but we're coming with very specific asks or very specific kind of strategy and approach for the integration. So I think if you can send me some things, that would be great. And then maybe you and I offline via email can just talk about like, okay, what are ways that we can be promoting or this campaign as part of some of what's happening with the Basic Income March, so that we're very kind of tactical. Because I think that's
Stacey,
an important part.
My proposition is, please allocate some time for these two issues.
Sure.
Let me, in fact, we have some presentations already available from last October, because it took about 2 years. But the thing is, it might be introducing some synergy to the
totally.
UBI movement all around the world. In the meantime, we are preparing a video recording for the coming UBI advocates meeting too.
Yes.
If it will be ready before our meeting, next meeting, I will share it too before, in advance.
Great. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, send me anything that you have on it, so I can just go through it and start to understand. I want to be really tactical. I think that there's a way to do what you're talking about, for us to integrate and make sure that all of that work on the campaign can also be part of what's happening with the march, and thinking about and talking about that. But I wanna understand a little bit more about it, and then actually make some plans with you about what that might look like.
Yeah. I just say give a chance. Then you
I
will make your decision. No
yeah, I am. I just don't want to. I am. It's gonna happen.
No,
I want to be very intentional about it, I guess is what I'm saying, because I want to.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, the problem is not the problem. The target is for the UBI advocates and UBI networks meetings also. The same target is valid.
Yeah.
We think that the communication, interaction, and collaboration between UBI advocates all around the world is very important.
Yeah.
We are not talking about a global basic income. I mean, again, people are promoting basic income in their own home countries. But we are exchanging information, experiences, some ideas. I mean, it's very beneficial.
Yeah.
That's why we would like to add some activism to the existing interaction too. So give me the chance to make the presentation, then you can make your decision. Or we can modify it. It doesn't have to be like the presented version. I mean, maybe partially it can be adapted, or I don't know. But it might be, yeah. And in the meantime, if there's a possibility to share the photos from different countries from last year, it might be interesting, because you see people are benchmarking. For example, this European Union campaign is very important. If they fail, then we do fail also, because people will say, oh, the Europeans didn't like it, what you are talking about. But if they have a success or huge success, then it will be very good for us too. Yeah. Okay, thank you. I stopped.
No, it's okay. Yeah, all of last year's people, organizers had access to all of the folders that everybody dropped everything in. I'll make sure that you have access to that still. But last year, everybody dumped their things in, and then everybody just had access to those. But I'll make sure that you have access as well, so that you can grab those.
Thank you. I didn't know. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, wonderful.
Stacey,
yeah.
Just a quick question. Are you doing an international press release? I know that out of all the cities and everything else, only Toronto was picked up by the media. We need to get this internationally known. So are you guys gonna be doing an international press release? I know we're doing a national one.
Yeah, we will. We will. And many cities actually had press. The San Francisco event was covered by national and international press, and as well as the New York. And I think that Amsterdam and Germany both, if I'm remembering correctly, had news coverage as well. But yeah, definitely we'll be doing.
Is there any way we can get copies of the news coverage so that we can add to our websites and our Facebook pages and stuff, so showing that it happened around the world, and maybe that way people will be more inclined to come out?
Sure, I'll go back through. Most of those were shared via email by the organizers in the aftermath on the kind of the joint lists. I'll go back through and see what I can find in those. And some people just shared them on Twitter and other things too. So I'll see what I can amass so that you guys can from those. We'll also be sharing our press release with you guys, with all the organizers, so that you guys can pull from that if you want to do. We're doing press releases international, national, but also in each city of our flagship cities, so that we can try to get as much local coverage all the way up to national coverage and international. So we'll just give you guys access to those so that you can use whatever parts of it make sense.
Okay, awesome.
And most of these things, we didn't show it here, but we will in our next meeting. We have an overall kind of structure project document with timelines and dates for when we want to make sure that we have certain things done. So we'll share that in our next meeting. We'll also share it with you via email, so you have access to it. But it's going to have kind of the drop dead dates of when we know we need to get certain things, and press releases will be on one of those. Will be one of those line items with the due date of when we're going to have it ready and to push out and ready to share with you guys. So, and that'll be a place where anything, all these different ideas that people are coming up with, we can add to that and make sure that we have a really clear path forward that we're all driving towards. Awesome.
Okay, awesome.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day, wherever you are, whatever time it is. It's morning here where I am, but thanks for joining. We'll send, like I said, a follow-up email with a lot of the information that we covered here, as well as a link to this video so you guys can share it, and invite to designate the best meeting times for you so that we can make sure that we have a good, solid time and day of the week that we want to have our ongoing weekly meetings.
Okay. Well, everybody stay safe and stay healthy, okay?
You too. Take care, everybody. See you next time.
All the best. Thank you very much. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, dear friends. Bye-bye.